I am shocked and in disbelief over our Kenyan human rights organizations. Apparently, if you are a security officer, say Kenya Police, then according to the Kenyan human rights, you are not a human being. We have had cases where police officers in uniform have been molested in public, but you will never ever hear any human rights organization castigating those people doing that. In some countries like the USA, if a police officer is in uniform, it is a really bad offense to even physically challenge him. In the USA, when a police officer is in uniform, he would just tell you, are you challenging a police officer in uniform? You see, you have challenged the police officer. Then he tells you the second time, are you challenging an officer in uniform? Many people, that is the time when they realize and apologize. But in Kenya, we have had cases where mob beat up police officers in uniform. It is said, and I think I have no reason to question it, that these people do turn against the police officers when they go to collect illegal fines for illegal businesses. Even if it was that way, why don't you restrain this police officer? Take him to the police station, make a complaint. Why beat him up? Why tear his uniform? But you'll never, there was even a case, I think, one of the major roads in Nairobi, where a truck driver comes out, beats a police officer, a traffic police officer, mercilessly to the ground and steps him and whatever. The crowd just watches and records it on video, but you see the crowd is disorganized. You cannot blame the crowd because if it was an organization, anyway, you could blame that organization. But in a mob, everybody doing it is on his own. It is up to somebody's conscience to come out and castigate that. But you'll never ever hear human rights organization, all of them, including the government human rights organization, castigating people who there was even that case of a tuk-tuk. A police officer was stopping a tuk-tuk. I think it was somewhere in Rift Valley. The tuk-tuk took off. Then the tuk-tuk driver, after driving it for a period of about 100 meters, he turned back and came and started beating up that police officer. We have never, unless somebody corrects me, I've never heard of any human rights organization castigating. There was a case where the bombers issue, we also, people who are known, people who are recorded on video, one of them even, I can only mention 3, but there were many. There was one who was walking on top of the tables. There was another one, the one who was walking on top of tables is Kanchori. Then there was a senator, Oledama. Then there was a certain heavy-built man who took a podium, threw it down. There was so much problems. We have had cases where Chebukati says that election officials were being arbitrarily arrested without no charges. We have a case where, okay, we can even talk about Musando 5 years ago. We have even a case where a returning officer was killed and dumped elsewhere. We have not had a single case where the human rights organization have condemned that. You may not be wrong if you believe that Kenyan human rights organizations are appendices of Raila. Because anything that is done out of the law on behalf of or sympathetic to where Raila is, you'll never hear the human rights castigating that. Let us take the example of 5 years ago. People used to come to town. They used to call it Machozi Tuesday, or is it Machozi Monday? The whole street near the IEBC offices would be closed. People would make noise. And in those streets, we have people who have rented business. Even if they have not rented business, let us take people who carry food stuff or even clothing. They go to that place, place it on the ground, sell it, do everything, and at the end of the day, they get 100, 200 to feed their children. Now, if you go, the Constitution gives a person a right to picket. Now, there's the same Constitution says that your right stops where the other person's right begins. Now, if you close the whole street, and a hawker, usually, he has a right. He's a Kenyan like you. He has a right to his business, and by you closing the whole street where he spends the whole day without doing any business, you are doing a disservice to him or her. So, so long as Raila's people believe, which of course they are right, that they have certain rights to picket, to demonstrate, they should also know that other Kenyans, their rights should not inconvenience others. We have had cases where they create chaos, and the people who are going to look for jobs, they are carrying documents for job application. In the mayhem, they lose the documents and whatever. Kenya does not belong to Raila. Kenya belongs to all of us, and we have the same rights. Lastly, this one is not specifically to the human rights, but to all Kenyans. We are having problems of our reactions to things. We do it so fast, without thinking, that at times it leads to problems. I want to say the example of the lawyer who died. Suddenly, people started saying, oh, he has died on the day Ruto became the president. But the post-mortem and the family have agreed that the death was natural. It's really bad. Then there is Mama Ida's bodyguard. He dies, suddenly people say that family is being targeted. But when the facts come out, it shows that it was just something that was very personal to him, and that if he would have been an ordinary police officer in an ordinary place, why do we have to look at things in Raila prison? Oh, Mama Ida's bodyguard has been killed, so the government is after them. Oh, let the Constitution gives us all equal rights. Nobody is well placed than others. Amen.